Welcome to Kabir's Tag Dive. Happy New Year to everyone. This is our very first founder interview for 2025. And my first guest is Alec Crawford, and he's the founder and CEO of AI Risk Reward. Alec, welcome to the show. Thank you for joining and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, Kabir. Yeah, great to be on the show.
So let's start by talking about yourself.
I think, Kabir, I got to take you back to 1987. So I was an undergraduate at Harvard, and I was building neural networks and expert system AI from scratch and teaching computers how to play poker. So that was pretty fun. Graduated from there, and at that point, people had figured out, we need way more powerful computers for this AI thing to really work. So I went into finance. I worked on Wall Street as an analyst for a long time, and then ended up in the risk management space. So I did that at Zip Brothers Investments, and then for the last decade at Lord Abbett, which is a mid-size asset manager. I ran investment risk there and a bunch of other stuff, heavily involved in technology, and did some AI stuff there. And then I retired from there at the end of 2022 and played 100 rounds of golf last year. And then I was like, oh my God, look at these big companies onboarding AI with no guardrails. This is crazy. And I started AI Risk Inc. With my co-founder, Frank Fitzgerald, basically to develop software that helps manage the risks of AI. And we're primarily focused on highly regulated spaces like banking and healthcare, who really need the most help with AI.
That's awesome. I am a computer engineer as well. I actually skipped all 3 electives in school for AI. At that time, I was thinking AI is not happening. This is the machine learning was too much of theoretical and not much of practical use. I did not take those electives. I regret that. But in the last few years, as a business owner, because I have a software company servicing mid-sized enterprise, and so we had to figure out AI. But the beauty of AI today is that we have so many APIs. If you use them without any guardrail, if you use them without any risk management and risk mitigation, you're in big trouble. And that's why I'm so interested in what you're doing, especially the industry that you mentioned. Though in your company, you even have your own GPT. How do you differentiate between the ChatGPT API, the Anthropic API versus what you guys are providing?
Yeah, that's a great question. Well, first of all, we're not building our own large language models for consumption by our customers. We are building AI models to help us in our business. And think about it as the operating system for AI, right? So we allow the development of AI agents and the use of any of these large language models that our clients want to use, whether it's OpenAI or really anything else that's available to be deployed on a private cloud or through an API, as you mentioned. Look, the crux of it is controlling the AI, controlling what people are doing, and controlling the data it has access to. Because if you just make everybody at your company a super user of AI, you're just asking for trouble if they can access like all the data at your company, with AI, either a huge AI bill, or someone gets hacked and then all your data's gone, or you've got a ransomware case on your hands. So the 4 pillars, once you've decided to use AI and build out some AI agents, are governance, risk management, compliance, and cybersecurity. I'll explain what each of them is. So governance, by governance, I mean who can do what with AI at your company. So when your call center has access to client records and frequently asked questions and recordings, and maybe an agent that will tell them how to get better on their next call, right? That's very different from your CFO who has access to agents which look at the books and records of the firm and income statement and things like that. And you probably don't want each of those groups to have access to the other's data or agents. So that's part of the don't make everyone have be a super user in AI where the customer service person can look at the books and records of the firm. That's a mistake, right? And then next, you've got risk management, where there's very basic stuff we do for the internet now. We're blocking not safe for work sites, for example, on the internet. Well, guess what? Now you got to do that for AI. You've got to block not safe for work topics for AI. You've got to encrypt personal data. People are typing in client data or client health data. You got to encrypt it, like by law in some cases, before it can go anywhere. So that's something that we help out with, as well as other kind of risk management issues. And then you've got regulatory compliance, where, for example, HIPAA requires all patient data to be encrypted at rest and in motion. right? Are you doing that with your AI model? Well, probably not, or maybe not, right? Whereas we have HIPAA compliant AI in beta right now. And then finally, cybersecurity, which is the most important part, and privacy. Like you don't really know if you're just using a public version of some AI model and you're paying $20 for it, guess what? They're keeping all your data, right? And if you don't believe me, turn off your computer, come back in a week, go back to ChatGPT, and it will have your history in there. They're keeping it, right? They know exactly what you're saying. And in some cases, that's been revealed publicly, which is, sad and upsetting, but that's what the license says, right? If you go in there, they can train on your data. It's not really your data anymore. So, but if you do it privately on your own private cloud, which is what we help our clients do, then obviously you own your data, right? It's private. You can get access to things like your emails and your databases and your documents safely and securely and privately and use AI inside your firewall, which I think is super important. The other cybersecurity aspect is obviously there's lots of new ways and new cybersecurity. You need to defend against things like prompt injections for AI and skeleton key attacks and all these things that right now people are like, what's that? And by next year, everybody's going to know what those are because they're going to start happening. People are going to be looking for ways to defend themselves.
That is where we're going, I think. You're absolutely right. So that brings me to the topic that I shared with you. I see a trend where AI on the edge computing AI is going to be more prominent. And recently, NVIDIA basically launched a small developer box called Jetson Orin Super Nano or Nano Super. It's a tiny little $250 box that nobody can buy. I can't get my hands on it because it's not available. That gives you like 67 tops, trillion operations in a little box. So they're claiming a lot of things, of course. I don't know anyone who has verified, validated this, but having AI on the edge, on the in-premise AI for doing routine things. Tell us about your reaction. Are there enough knowledge and expertise to even implement edge AI yet? I feel we're not ready yet. It's like giving us a car, but not teaching us to drive. What I know about is DevOps to system security, because these are things that we deal with. They're not ready for handling an edge AI device because they just don't know how to make it work. So there's still a gap between edge AI products and the knowledge or the infrastructure. If you could speak to that, like what do you think of that?
That's a great question. I think let's go back to last year, right? When companies were adopting OpenAI and other AI tools kind of as fast as possible. And in some cases, perhaps not spending enough time on things like cybersecurity or what's the actual use case for Gen AI or things like that, right? So a lot of money was spent and a lot of risk was taken. And look, some companies did a very good job at that and other companies did not, right? To be candid, right? So I think edge AI is coming, right? So Apple obviously is very focused on that. You mentioned NVIDIA, and I think it's going to happen. It just may not happen as quickly as people think, simply because there just aren't enough Jetson boxes or chips that Apple can stick in a phone for edge AI. So I think the first generation of any tool, whether it's a phone or a computer that says AI, like a lot of that's honestly going to be more marketing gimmicks, right? It's going to be like 3D TV where everybody's like, yeah, and then like today, like when's the last time you put on your 3D glasses to watch TV? Like never, right? So, but it will eventually come. So for example, like I was running AI on the edge last year. Like I loaded up Llama 2, stuck it on my Apple desktop, and I was running it. Now it was really slow. It was slower than the speed of a 300 baud modem for those of us who remember those days. But it did work, and it was completely private because it was inside my firewall, on my computer, inside my house, right? So it is doable, right? And these open source models are the best candidates for that, obviously, because you can stick them on a computer somewhere and run them. So super exciting. I do think you're right. The enterprise is not ready for this. And it's just what the stuff we talked about. And it's not just the governance, risk management, compliance, and cybersecurity. It's use case. It's how do I connect this to my data securely? Like, how do I make sure that I'm not going to get hacked, or that this API connection is secure between whatever model I'm using and the data I'm trying to grab. And that's really a problem that we solve turnkey for banks, other financial institutions, and healthcare. Is we go in there with a software solution that allows companies to do this. From a DevOps perspective, they're kind of good to go after day one. And in most cases, this is not edge computing; it is private cloud computing. It also can be on-prem. And look, if someone really, really wants to do computing on a box, inside their office, we're happy to help. That is very doable at this point.
Very interesting. Now I see that household robots are coming in, and everybody's promising things. Elon Musk is promising, delivery next year or this year. You can actually buy one in China. What do you think about safety of AI-powered robots?
It's a tricky problem, right? And I think that we're going to start out similar to AI companies, with a zillion different companies creating robots and robotic operating systems. I think that also similar to AI, use cases and robots are going to come out faster than ways to make them safe. And they're just people are going to go out there and buy them, and you'll see the occasional terrible story, right? And I think it's less likely that it's the robot with a knife, and more likely that someone was counting on the robot to change their oxygen tank and it didn't do it and they died, or something like that. So something, more passive. But think about it also in terms of what's going on with AI and cybersecurity. There's the basic stuff and the headline grabbing stuff. The headline grabbing stuff for AI and cybersecurity is the CEO deepfake video to the CFO, who then wires $20 million plus off into the ether, and it wasn't really the CEO as a deepfake. That shouldn't even be on the top 10 list. That is so rare and so unusual. The thing we should be worried about that AI is enabling across the world is incredible spear phishing emails that come to Kabir that talk about, hey, you should buy a new golf club, or you could play better golf with this. Hey, because I know you live on a golf course. And you go, that's great. And you click on it. And oops, it's a spear phishing email, and you've just downloaded malware, right? So that's what we should be worried about. So I think for household robots, it's going to be something similar, where everybody's going to be worried about the knife-wielding robot. But in the end, it's going to be more about robots that don't work, or robots that don't do what you want, or don't quite hear you. One of my favorite cartoons is it's a cartoon with a bunch of generals, obviously sitting in a bunker, and you see all these video screens all around them, and an Alexa device sitting in the middle of the room in between the generals. And on all the video screens are all these rockets, all these missiles taking off. And the general's saying, "No, Alexa, I said order lunch, not launch." Right. So that's really kind of more the risk, is just like dumb stuff like that. Although that's obviously very serious, but misunderstandings, or a robot not doing something correctly, or a programming error or something like that. Not like a robot with a knife, right? Because look, the first generation is just not going to work perfectly. That's all there is to it. It's just not.
And how old is AI Risk, by the way?
We really started working on it early 2023, incorporated in July of 2020. We're actually in the first quarter of 2025 going to raise $5 million. We have a bunch of existing clients and channel partners, and things are speeding up very quickly. It's been just a great experience. Like, if you had told me how fun being an entrepreneur was, I would have started 20 years ago, not 2 years ago.
I was lucky. I started in the second year of college. I started my first company called SecSoft. I live in Sacramento area in the Northern California, and I sold shareware for $20. Sold it via FTP sites first, and then cdom.com picked it up, and then it snowballed into many things, venture funding and everything so on. I am exploring other things, and helping tech founders has been a very fun and exciting journey. And so this podcast is actually is to encourage them to talk about their stuff. Would you say that founders should consider podcasting as a way to build their brand awareness and educate their market?
Absolutely. Look, I think there's a bunch of stuff that founders can do that's, inexpensive, marketing, basically. One is obviously develop your LinkedIn site. The other one, which is trickier and more time consuming, is obviously go on podcasts, be a guest, see if you like it. And then obviously you can create your own podcast, but then obviously need to find guests. And there's a clear difference between kind of amateur podcasts that sound terrible and then ones that are okay, all the way up to very professionally produced podcasts with sound effects and advertisements and clips and things like that. More broadly, I think AI is really going to help entrepreneurs as they're starting out doing different things, right? Like, I think we're getting very close, and within the next year or so, we're going to have AI agents that will help you book your plane tickets and, help you already have ones that will write your social media posts for you. But that's just going to get easier and easier to basically delegate things to AI, which is really one of the tougher things to do as an entrepreneur, right? Because you don't have one job, you've got like 10 jobs. You're HR, you're the CFO, you're the marketing guy, you're the advertising guy. And then you've also got to meet with clients and, hey, how are your existing clients doing, right? To the extent that you can offload even pieces of each of those jobs to AI agents, that's a huge win.
Have you considered being in advisory boards for other companies?
Sure. Yeah, I'm on the advisory board of Ecolumix, which is an ESG data company, and I'm on the actual board of directors of a company called Dynex Capital, which is a mortgage REIT, and I'm one of the independent directors on that board. So I'm also on the board of a for-profit school system, but yeah, so I've been doing board work for a while now, and I found it really helpful and rewarding in terms of giving back.
So I think that covers today's initial interview. I like to call on you in a later part of the year to check how your venture is going and get more insight for our audience, if that is okay with you.
That sounds great, Kabir. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much for coming on to shows today, and good luck with everything. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Great to be here.